Welcome to the Straight Red Card, and this is your USA versus Qatar or Qatar review. And if you haven't yet, make sure you like and subscribe because we're trying to get to 1,000, right, Brett? That's the goal, 1,000 subs. That changes everything for us. And but thank you for everybody that's gotten us up to like 780 and just a handful of months. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. Once we get to 1,000 subs, we'll start putting in like 10 commercial breaks on each video. Let's monetize the shit out of this.
Yeah, you gotta wonder who's gonna want to be a sponsor of this show, though.
Oh, we'll just take the YouTube sponsors. We're fine.
Oh yeah, you mean the auto ones? We'll take those.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Downey's off the list.
maybe they want to prove us wrong.
That would be cool.
Derek, wipe your ass with this towel. Now wash it in Downey. Smells fresh.
Now put it up to your nose. Tell us how it smells. All right, so this was a really interesting game in the fact that we did so mediocre in the first half and then did a little bit enough better in the second half. So it's really, as you mentioned before we got on air, that it was like a tale of two halves again.
It really was. And, the energy obviously started increasing in the second half, but it really didn't start picking up until the PK. But we'll get into all this. I don't want to, get too far ahead of that.
Right. But I guess, the bottom line is that we won the game. And maybe we shouldn't have if it wasn't for Matt Turner. Kind of saved our ass in that first half and on the penalty kick, which I think he got in that guy's head.
I'm giving that PK to Acosta. He sat there for like 2 minutes just talking to the guy, icing him down. Then there's a shoving match afterwards. That was all Acosta.
Yeah,
he did it against Mexico too. Same thing happened. Well, not same thing happened. I mean, Horvath had to come up big against Mexico, but
right.
No, I'm giving the PK to Acosta, and Turner did his thing. He stayed his ground until the kick was about to happen, and that may have got into the guy's head because all of a sudden he's second guessing whether or not he should do the little PK kick.
Yeah, the right straight down the middle.
Yep.
Penalty kick that everybody knew he was going to do. That he went ahead and did anyhow. I guess guessing that no one had scouted him. No. Greg Berhalter scouted him, and his staff scouted this team. They are prolifically thorough about that. So
that brings on to one point I want to bring up about Berhalter. We give Berhalter a lot of grief from time to time.
Yeah.
I almost wonder, looking at how that all panned out, I almost wonder if Berhalter's plan was to weather the attack early, and then as Qatar starts getting more and more tired, and they don't have a deep bench, and they go to their one, maybe two sub, that at that point we break out. I almost wonder if that's the case, because we were sitting back a little too far in that first half. Abusio was practically along the defensive line with Acosta, and Costa wasn't even part of the game up until about the 25th minute or so.
Yeah.
But I almost wonder if that was kind of a thought process, like, we'll take our chances when we get it, but then we'll strike late. I don't know.
Two things there. Zardes even said in the interview after this game, right before we got on air, that the object at the very beginning of the game was, in fact, to tire them out. That's why at the first 8 minutes of the game where we had possession, we were just like left, go to the right, go to the left, go to the right. Because they're
back to the center back, back to Leggett, back to the center back.
They're playing a 5-3-2. So if we just keep shifting that 5 on the defensive end back and forth, make them run, and then we just stand still and kick the ball around, they're going to get tired. And Zardes said just that much at the end of the game here.
That's nice because I didn't actually watch the interview, so I'm glad that I was able to pick that up.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's still we still didn't. And by the way, I got to give props to that Afif guy. Why that guy is not playing in Europe somewhere? I know he did briefly and it didn't work out or whatever. Well, he's 25. He probably needs to go back because he's been a fantastic player this whole tournament. I was actually surprised when they took him out in the second half. I was like, really? You're going to take that guy out? He's the best player on your team.
Yeah, I thought that was a little strange as well.
Yeah, that was so. But I personally wrote down in my notes, as far as the passing went in the first 8 or so minutes from us, that this just seems senseless unless it is to tire them out. That's what I wrote, because Acosta wasn't even looking to find space between the lines so he could get the ball. You know, he was happy with just poking it straight back to the center backs. It wasn't like they were man marking him. He just didn't move forward the 10 yards or 5 yards necessary to find open space, because we were perfectly happy going from wing to wing with the ball and doing absolutely nothing for the first 10 minutes.
It's the perfect depiction of that Simpson meme, you know, where all the players are standing still, but the ball just keeps getting passed by, 3 players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that, just do. And it's, yeah. So yeah, the first 10 minutes, I was annoyed thoroughly. I was like, why are we playing so defensive? Why aren't we getting to the attack? And then, Qatar came through and they broke out of that, and they ended up having more of the possession and more of the chances throughout the first half.
They were dangerous.
And put us back on our heels. They had some chances. Turner saved us big.
Yeah.
But it was like after that occurred, we came back into the second half with a little more energy. So at that point, I was sitting there going, maybe that was the plan. Maybe Berhalter did his, reconnaissance and figured out that, Qatar likes to attack. Everybody,
they're not very deep.
Yeah. So maybe if you can wear them out a bit, and, the U.S. team is anything if not athletic. So,
yeah,
we can stretch that out, and we have the I'm going to put air quotes here, but relatively deep bench, I guess, for this Gold Cup. We can make our subs, and Berhalter has been making his subs throughout the Gold Cup. So all the players that were coming onto the pitch were ready and sharp-ish. Well, they were definitely sharp today, but
well, not Roldan wasn't sharp.
But
we'll get into player ratings, I guess, later.
I thought Roldan did perfectly fine.
He had a shankopotamus there that almost gave Qatar the opportunity at the end. Other than that, he really didn't do much except lose the ball, do poorly on defense. I'm sorry.
I will say that I thought Roldan did a lot of good connecting with Ariel and Leggett on that right hand side. They had a number of, after that PK and Roldan came in, there were a number of opportunities of just 1-2 little passes, 1-2 touches moving through there, and Roldan was a part of that. I'm not going to take anything away from him. I don't think he was stellar by any means, but I don't think he had a terrible game by any means either.
So the real thing that stood out tonight was how not either healthy or unsharp DK was in a really, really pretty disappointing performance.
Yep. So I guess I didn't watch a pregame show with Berhalter's interview, or whatever. But he apparently had a quote where he's like, I want to let him learn and grow into this tourney. I wrote tourney, so I'm sure he said tournament. Mm-hmm. But he was talking about how he wanted to give DK a chance to shine. If this is and they talked about this as well. If this was a World Cup qualifier, Zardes would have started.
That's what he said.
He wanted to give DK a chance. And I'm like, okay, that's perfectly fine. And mind you, I'm assuming at that point he had to be able to tell how the injury to his left shoulder was. I mean, if it was affecting him, I wouldn't have played him in a semifinal.
I know, I wouldn't have either. But he was holding that goddamn thing from the first half.
Yeah, it was. He just. You have to kind of chalk probably some of his performance, lack of performance with that injury. But yeah, it was an ugly game for him. He just did not do well. And if that injury was nagging him enough, he should have gotten pulled at halftime. I'm kind of surprised that he came back out.
I was too.
Yeah. But, my going back to that quote, let him learn and let him grow. what happened to Williamson? Why has he had like a 2-game spell of not playing at all?
I guess the difference is if Williamson fucks up, it could cost us a goal. But if DK fucks up for 70
When the
minutes,
fuck is he ever going to get a playing time if that's a concern? Give him a chance. You should have
well,
given him a chance earlier on if that was the case. If you really wanted to try to grow,
as you well know, in order for you to get playing time under Berhalter, under Greg, you have to get in his comfort zone.
mm-hmm.
He's got to be absolutely like really comfortable with you and know what your proclivities are, or else you're not going to start. The only difference is up front, where he's willing to give guys like Gio Caccini shots and Hoppy. He's no idea who the. I mean, I'm sure they scouted the players and they know who they are generally, but that doesn't mean Greg feels comfortable starting either of those players, except he is willing at this point to take that shot on Hoppy, because Hoppy is the only guy on the field on this team who can take on players. Yep. He's the only one. He was
our only offensive threat in that first half.
Yep.
The only one. Ariel was a ghost.
You see how deep he was coming?
Yeah.
And picking up the ball and doing wing moves on the opposite wing he was supposed to be playing on. It was crazy. It was
I almost
great.
wonder if Berhalter called him and said, "Hey, get back further, get that ball," because there were huge spells of that game where he wasn't playing as an outside striker. He was playing more of as a creative midfielder. Well, something that Legit was not doing consistently for the vast majority of the game.
And he also switched at certain points with DK and played center forward too.
Mm-hmm.
DK went out left. He came inside. And that went on for a handful of minutes for a while. And but Hoppy was our best player, and I was sad to see him come off. It turned out it all worked out, and we won the game. But did you see Hoppy yell at Greg?
He was not happy, and they definitely talked about that being how he wants to be on the pitch, and we want that from our players. It's not hey, I put in 60 minutes. That was pretty good, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure Stu doesn't mind that energy. I think Stu said as much. Well, I like that. He's got fire in his belly or whatever the fuck he said.
Yeah.
But, we saw what happened to Dwayne Holmes after he barked at Berhalter. Dwayne Holmes never to be seen from again on this team.
Yeah, it's true. But, I mean, I feel like we're talking about two completely different quality of players here. But
I just hope he's not real sensitive, Greg.
Well, and again, when we're talking about a full squad, I mean, we're talking about a possibility where Hoppy may not necessarily make the 23.
Oh, he's on my 23 now.
I mean, he's on mine as well. But I'm just saying it's very possible. I mean, it seems like Berhalter's kind of set with his 4 wingers, if you will. But I mean, it would just require kind of a shift, I guess. But either way, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about this game.
No, you could play Hoppy as a center forward.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, what's DK proven? Nothing. Sardis bumped himself up again tonight by scoring. We got Sargent at Werder Bremen. God knows where he's going to go. If he's going to stay, is he going to go? I don't know. Still playing him as a winger at Werder Bremen, except for in friendlies where they play him as a center forward and he scores.
Shocker.
Huh?
I said shocker.
Yeah.
No, we've said it a number of times. I think a trio of Pulisic, Hoppy, and Reyna up top would be absolutely stellar. And if you wanted to talk about putting Reyna back into the midfield and having like an Aronson or a Weah or whomever, I think that would just be an absolute stellar trio up there.
Oh man, it would be great.
Yep.
I can't wait to see it, but right now
doubtful.
I'm glad that Berhalter tried Hoppy the CF spot for a while when he noticed DK was languishing a little, maybe or I can't imagine DK and Hoppy switched on their own. I'm sure that was an order. Somebody told them to do that because that's not normal. Because DK's not a left winger.
No. It almost seemed like DK was trying, and again, this may have been a Berhalter decision, but it almost seemed like they pushed him out left in hopes to pull over a couple of defenders off to the side of the field, opening up the midfield.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that may have been their intent.
Speaking of Hoppy, did you see how hard Berhalter yanked his arm to get off the field when he came off? He's like, "Don't talk to me, motherfucker!" Yanked him, just yanked his arm.
I did not see that, but I did see Berhalter get in the face of the fourth official after the goal.
Oh, he got in fucking Hoppy's face, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, "Shut the fuck up and go sit the fuck down."
Mm.
And then Hoppy threw, the towel over his head and shit, and he was definitely pissed off. You know what? I mean, we said it in the first few games we saw Hoppy. That guy's got like a fire in his belly.
Yep.
He's a fucking rabble rouser. That dude's got some sort of chip on his shoulder, probably from getting cut by the Galaxy when he was a youth player.
I had no idea that. I guess I really didn't follow his youth until he was at Schalke. I wasn't aware of that.
He was an LA Galaxy youth player. And they said, "Nah, we don't like what you are. We don't think you're going to be very good." They let him go, man. And he went to the US-based Barcelona Academy for a while. And then he went to Schalke. So there you go. I mean, fuck LAG. I'm going to Germany, bitch.
Yeah. And so while we're talking about Hoppy and Hoppy getting subbed off and everything like that, let's talk about the sub choice as a PK is about to come into play. I have to say, this is obviously before they started playing, but I was absolutely livid when thinking that we were going to go down a goal, that our three subs that are going to come in were going to be Roldan, Zardes, and Cannon. Now, Zardes is obvious because DK was up lame, Yep. We need to bring in Zardes. That was fine. But I'm like, we're going to go down a goal here, and we're bringing in Roldan and Cannon.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Then they missed the PK, and then all of a sudden the energy went from like 2.5 to 11.
Yeah.
And then we were just constantly on the attack for the remainder of those last like 30, 35 minutes. And that benefited Roldan and Cannon because all of a sudden everything was working in our favor and it looked good. So
it certainly benefited Cannon and
again,
Zardes for sure. I'll have to watch the game again tomorrow, but
I think Roldan definitely had some guffs, He definitely made some bad plays here and there. But I think as a whole, overall, I think he connected with players into our attack. Again, nothing spectacular by any means, but he was just a constant connector between Areola and Leggett on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and you got to see Williamson tonight. That was one of your wishes.
Yes, and I have to say, Williamson was far cleaner in his 20 minutes, whatever it was, 15 minutes, I think, than Busio has been all tournament. I think Busio's been. I think Busio. You can see the talent there. You can see the promise. But when Williamson came in, and I thought he was great against Martinique, but when he came in, I noticed it immediately. It was just sharper, cleaner, and maybe that's because the Qatar team was worn out. They were getting a little sloppy, but it was night and day how clean it was.
And it was, in fact, Williamson who took the pass from Gioacchini, and then Williamson triangled him into the box, and then Gioacchini wheeled around and, of course, then found Zardes in the middle with that tricky little right foot side pass, and a no-look pass, nonetheless.
It was a nice five pass setup for the goal.
Yeah.
It was Leggett to Gio to Williamson to Gio to Zardes.
Yeah.
And it was nice to watch. And
yes.
Gioacchini is definitely one of my high rankers of the game. Short amount of time, but he made the biggest impact, in my opinion.
Dude, that dude was like a punching bag, dude, for the Qataris.
He took a lot of fouls and he took a lot of time off the clock. But then again, he also was one of the more creative people, especially coming in late. He had limited time and he had all the energy in the world, but he made everything he could, out of
Dude,
everything.
that was brutal to watch. They were creaming Gioacchini. They were like beating him like a baby seal. I mean, it was
with
brutal.
another baby seal, of course.
I mean, it was bad, and I'm glad he was able to take that physical thing. But then again, it wasn't as bad as that possible junk stomp on
Jesus,
Shaq
yeah.
Moore. that looked pretty scary.
Well, hey, let's have some sympathy for the Qatarian player, if that's what they are, Qatarians. The player of Qatar, Qataris. There you go.
Yeah.
He may have rolled his ankle while stomping on his junk. So there's
true.
that.
And I hope it wasn't on his junk, but it seriously looked
Dude,
like his junk.
Yeah. I mean, come on. that was right there. That had to hurt so bad.
I mean, the only thing you can hope there is that, you know, that the boys were kind of too low to get stomped on, right? So you just took shaft damage, basically.
Yeah.
That can be fixed, right? But crushed testicles with spikes in them, yeah, that's not good. Now, I've never been personally stomped in the testicles. I've had other things happen to them, but not stomped. And but I can only imagine that Shaq Moore is saying a prayer tonight. That's all I gotta say, because that looked awful.
One thing I do want to add in here, just so I don't forget to add it in. Robinson once again was a beast.
Yes,
absolutely stellar game.
He saved Sand's ass several times.
Yes, and quite frankly, of the defense, we had Zimmerman. Zimmerman was a constant. I was confident with him. Sands was showing up. I think this was probably Sands' worst game of the tournament, and that's saying a lot because it wasn't an awful game, but he had some bad moments.
He's some bad moments, for sure.
But Robinson, I think, has been the most consistent all tournament, and I think his stock has grown the most. Yeah,
and then we'll get into as we do our player ratings next segment, whether or not they've played themselves into a discussion as depth for the U.S. men's national team.
We're going to add the 6 different categories.
Now we're just going to go or thumbs up or something like that. Oh, by the way, the Mexico-Canada game is just starting. Well, it's not starting. They're doing the national anthems, and once they're done with those, they'll start. But quick predictions from you. Do you have a prediction tonight? Let's see if we're right or wrong tomorrow.
Mexico's going to win.
Score?
Do you want me to give you a score? I'm going to go with 2-0.
You know what? I'm going to go with Canada in a penalty.
It's interesting.
Penalties.
Mexico hasn't been scored on all tournament, and you think you think it's going to go down to penalties?
Yes, I think we're going to see penalties.
I think Canada will get eventually. Mexico will pry their way in and score a goal, and then Canada will have to press, and then Mexico will come back and score again. I'm going 2-0.
I guess I haven't figured out if Laren's back or not. I guess that would change my opinion if Kyle Laren was starting. That might change my opinion. I don't. It's not a big loss that they lost Akinola as long as Laren is back. So we'll see what happens there. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this segment. We'll go on to the player ratings segment, and we'll talk a little about my birthday. All right. Until the next time on the Straight Red Card.